Hi again, everybody. So, Arena has changed a lot since its last iteration, so I need to set some ground rules for all of the loadout reviews going forward. The idea is that I set a foundation, and you could pick and choose what to take out, what you like and what you don't like, that kind of stuff. If you want to copy it verbatim, then sure, go ahead. That's one of the main points of me making these reviews, but I highly encourage you to experiment with yourself on some of these loadouts. And also another thing I want to mention is that I'm going to be kind of speaking off the top of my head. I used to write scripts, but in order to save some time with pumping out these videos, I'm going to see how that works, if it saves any time. So if the flow of the video seems a little different or off, that's probably the reason why. Starting off with our headsets, I'm wearing the Comtac 2s. I like how they sound, they let you hear pretty far away as well. I highly recommend you guys to test out all the headsets on your own because not everyone likes how some headsets sound. The ambient noise might be a little too loud, the footsteps or the shooting might be a little too loud or too quiet. So highly recommend you test out your own thing. Now, one thing I should mention as well is that the rating system has changed a lot as well. Before, it was a tier system where you just choose the pre-made loadout class and that would be it. But now, it's not really like that. You have to fulfill a certain rating criteria. If you want a quick and short guide on how it works, your rating is separated into 3 segments. Your first one is your firepower, so that's your weapons, your melee weapon, your secondary, your primary weapon. That falls under your firepower. And also to mention your ammunition as well. That also falls under firepower. I'll go more in depth of that later when we actually go over the weapon. Now your second category is defense. So your helmet, your armor, that kind of stuff, anything that provides armor value will be allocated to your defense rating. And your utility, so grenades, medicine, rigs in your headset, that kind of stuff, that doesn't provide armor value or offensive value, that stuff will fall under your utility rating. How all of it works is that for each category, you must be under that red segment. So in that divider from blue to red, that's 5,500 for your armor, right? You have to be 5,500 rating or less for all of your armor stuff. So your total armor value, my total armor value right now is 3,000, right? So I'm under that threshold and that's good. All of this adds up to a total loadout rating. They all have a 13,000 overall rating cap, but depending on which class that you use, for example, Assault, it has more firepower. It's a little more balanced, has more firepower, 11,000 threshold, and armor, 5,500 threshold. But something like Enforcer, which is originally designed for a more defensive, like more armor-centric class, it has a much higher defense rating at 9,000, so you could put on more armor and that kind of stuff. But it has a less firepower rating because it's not meant to be incredibly offensive. So going back to Assault, that was just a quick rundown of how the rating system works now. So yeah, Comtac 2's 304 rating, something like Comtac 4's 750 rating. Just be careful of what you are equipping. Now, the helmet, I chose the U-Lock Black. Very good helmet, high overall durability, so you could take a lot more hits. High ricochet, so you could deflect a lot of those premium bullets that's not really rated for. So theoretically, something like a 7.62x54 RBT round, which is 55 penetration, could be completely deflected by the U-Lock, even though it's only level 4. I need to say a disclaimer, that happens very, very rarely. Something like a couple M62s from 7.62x51 is more likely, so just temper your expectations. It's a very good helmet, but it won't make miracles. I should mention that it's a polymer helmet, second best armor material in the game, only second to Aramid, but I think the only Aramid helmets right now are lower tier, so it's going to be the best that you could get. Another good thing to mention is that this U-Lock also covers your ears. So that means that if you get shot in the sides of the heads, it's not immediately over. Now, moving on to your armor, my idea was that this should be like a reliable go-to class that you don't have to really invest that much into. You don't have to buy a whole lot of stuff. And one of those things that you will unlock immediately is the Thor's Concealable. This thing is pretty good because it provides level 3 soft under armor under some plates. So you are very durable if you are wearing this armor. You are only afforded level 5 armor as a maximum for assault, so you can't equip level 6 armor and have like a level 3 backplate. That doesn't work right now. So the backplate that I chose was the Granite BR4 ballistic plate. It's ceramic, which is fine because the only other level 5 ballistic plate that you could get is the Sappy 3 Plus, and this is also made of ceramic, and since the BR4 at least has higher durability, I just went with that one. 55 compared to 50. Obviously, I'm going to use the 55 plate. The back plate that I chose was a level 4 plate because I really needed to have enough rating so I could get more ammo, so I compromised by having a level 4 back plate. I wouldn't really go for the level 3 backplate, even though it is made of polymer, because level 4 is already barely protecting you. So level 3, you might as well not. If you're going to run level 3, you might as well not even have a backplate to begin with. I could understand that if, you know, you want to get an extra 300 rating points and maybe pack an extra magazine, that's also fine, but also you don't want to just be completely naked at the back. It's better than nothing, I guess. So your actual backplate is the Noosphere Tech level 3. This thing is made of ceramic as well. You could go for the KA Titan. I think you could buy it immediately. You don't have to unlock anything or progress through anything. It is a better material, so if you can, I'd highly recommend getting it. Titan does have a lower destructibility value than ceramic. Just to mention, this Titan plate has higher total health, and it's only for a little bit higher rating as well, so it shouldn't really make too much of a big deal. So if you can, highly recommend getting the Titan. If you don't want to, you can just stick with the Noosphere Tech. Completely fine. Moving on to arguably the most important part of this kit, which is your offensive ability. Your primary is the M4. This thing you could build immediately. You don't have to go through any loops or stuff like that. Probably off the side of the screen, I'll list out each individual part so that you could search it up more easily. This is the build I went with: 38.5 ergonomics and 62 vertical recoil, 178 horizontal. Pretty low recoil. Not the lowest that they can get, but it's still very good. So the bullets that I went with was the highest that I could get as an assault for 5.56 caliber, which is M856A1s. I do not recommend going to SOST or M855s because 31 pen and 33 penetration, where the bare minimum is a level 4 armor, it will not suffice. Unless you could hit headshots very easily, then maybe you could go for SOST and M855s, because this M4 is pretty low recoil, so you don't have to worry about your aim flying off and not being able to hit consistent headshots. Realistically speaking, a lot of the time you are going to be hitting like the chest area, which is covered by armor, and then maybe moving on to the head, so at least getting 38 penetration will be a lot better. So the magazine setup that I have is 3 30 rounders of M856A1s and 1 20 rounder. I think that's also full of M856A1s, but it could be a split. No, yeah, okay, so that's full of M856A1s. You can't get another 30 rounder. You could probably have a 30 rounder and then stack it, like mix it up with a couple bullets, so like M856A1s and maybe cheaper M855s, but you'll need to do a lot of very tedious work. So if you want to go for that, sure, really min-max that, but I don't really care for that. It barely does anything in the grand scheme of things. So finally, we move on to your healing. This stim, this thing stops all of your bleeds, heavy bleeds, light bleeds. If you have them, gets rid of them completely. And also for these 60 seconds, it prevents you from getting any other bleeds. Now your morphine, in arena, you hardly ever hobble. Well, I'm trying to say that if you try to run, you can't because you're like hobbling around in your broken leg, that kind of stuff. I hardly ever find myself in that situation where I cannot run anymore, but it does happen. Of course, just having this morphine injector in case you need it for an emergency is a nice addition. Your AI2, now normally someone would probably replace that with an IFAK or a car kit to deal with your bleeding. But like I said before, this HF1 injector, it prevents all of that bleeding, so you don't really need any of those light bleeds and heavy bleeds kind of thing. You just need an AI2 med kit, which will heal specific parts of your body. So mainly your head and your thorax. You don't really need your arms or legs, because if you get hit in the head and the thorax, if it's blacked, you will die immediately. So this AI2 is just here for that emergency healing. So that was the loadout for a reliable assault class. Like I said, this thing, I think I forgot to mention it in the beginning, but this loadout is meant to be something that you could build immediately. You don't have to go through any unlocks or progress anything. You could just build this kit as soon as you start. That's all I want to talk about today, and if you have any questions or need any suggestions for your loadout, comment it down below and I'll get back to you. Thanks for listening. Take care.